Hello, good evening and welcome back to In the Know, brought to you by the Racing Post and of course Coral, which is why we're here tonight, because we've got a fantastic 8-race card at Sandown coming up, culminating of course in the Coral-Eclipse, where the classic generation go up against their elders for the first time. A small but select field lining up for the big race tomorrow. We'll get to that very shortly indeed, but it is an absolute jam-packed meeting at, arguably, although correctly, at the UK's finest racecourse. So we've got a cracking lineup for you, plenty of action to get stuck into as well, and pretty much the same conversations we were having 2 weeks ago at Royal Ascot. Will it rain? Will it not rain? How much rain? How will it affect the ground? How will it affect the draw? That's midsummer flat racing in the British Isles for you. So Sandown is the destination. We've already had a meeting there this afternoon, of course, so we've got a few clues from the racing today, and fingers crossed we'll find a few winners. Don't forget, of course, it is live and interactive as well, so I hope you're watching at home, and if you want to get involved and get in touch, please put your selections and your thoughts and feelings and your shout-outs down that chat bar on the YouTube page, and we will put them up on screen and answer them throughout the next hour or so. My name is Ross Brierley. As ever, I am joined by a top tipping team. To my left, a man who loves getting stuck into a big field handicap, so I can only assume he's been up since the wee hours going through Sandown's card. It's Paul Kealy.
Yeah, I've had a good look. I thoroughly enjoy it. I enjoy going through these big ones, but you know, the Eclipse itself is a great race. There might only be 4 runners, but they've got the 3 right ones, haven't they? But yeah, I love my handicaps, so I've got a couple of bets.
Absolutely. Well, I'd be disappointed if you didn't. So Paul Kealy with the bets in the handicaps. For the purists, it's a small but select field, Tom Segal, for the Coral-Eclipse tomorrow.
Yeah, quite surprised to see Kealy saying he was looking forward to that race. He normally doesn't like those sort of 3-4 runner races, but yeah, really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really great race. It's got 3 of the best horses in the world. None of them have really done it in Britain, to be funny, isn't it? We've got the French Derby and the French Guineas winner, St. Mark's Basilica. We got the top horse in Australia, a Dave, and we got Mishriff that seems to win everywhere else in the world. So everywhere bar Britain, they're the three of the best horses in the world. It's going to be a great race.
Yes, it's kind of like the headline announcements for a major festival. It's kind of music-wise, you've kind of got horses, like you said, who've never raced against each other, who've been left, right, and centre from various age groups, and obviously tactically it's going to be very interesting, Tom. But you know, we've got, like you said, 3 absolute top-class animals.
Yeah, you couldn't ask for more, could you? I mean, we could have had a few more, 3 or 4 other supporting casts, but really they would have only been the supporting cast. Those 3 of the best horses we've got, around maybe the best 3-year-old colt, St. Mark's Basilica, and 2 of the best older horses. You could argue that Mishriff has done, he's done it on turf and dirt, hasn't he? So there aren't many better horses than him. And obviously, Dave's done it all down under in Australia. So yeah, you're not missing anyone.
No, and David Stevens, representing the sponsors of the entire card, of course, tomorrow at Sandown, is live from home. And of course, initially you must have been a little bit disappointed by the numbers declared for the race, David. But as we've been saying, a race won by the likes of Gaiath, Enable, Golden Horn. So you think Al Kazim in the past 10 years or so, we're certainly going to get another top-class name to add to that roster.
Good evening, gents. Yeah, great to see you all again. First time since Royal Ascot. Yeah, look, it's a race that we're accustomed to having fairly small fields. As long as you get quality over quantity, it's fine. And we got 3 really good horses. We're all talking about 3. There is El Drama in there, of course. Good luck to connections of him as well. But it's great for us because we haven't got a 1 to 5 favourite. That's the small fields that we really don't like when you get a race like that. 3 quality horses. Who else are we missing? I mean, Lord North was on target for it, but he had his setback. I'd love to have seen Love line up just because, give a Distaff angle to it, but she's got other targets. And you can never point things at Ballydoyle. I mean, just going through the race earlier, only once since the turn of millennium has Aidan O'Brien not had a runner in the race. So they support it brilliantly every year. So yeah, look, 3 top-class horses and El Drama we shouldn't forget. And I'm looking forward to it. I think the lack of runners does not mean a lack of intrigue or a lack of fascination.
Yeah, the lack of pace perhaps could give some El Drama, as they say in Spain, to the race. But in terms of quality, Paul, I mean, I think it was McAdram's renewal that had more than 3 horses rated 120 plus. We've got 3 horses rated 120 plus. Like I said, it's just that the the also rans, as it were, haven't turned up for a.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look. We talked about Palace Pier being a superstar, best miler in the world, etc. Well, it's got the same official rating as the Dave.
Yeah.
Well, so what are we missing? Is he or is he not the highest rated middle distance horse in Europe? I don't know whether he is or not, but I mean, he's got to be close.
Yeah. It certainly can't be far off. And of course, the rest of the card, you were saying you were getting properly stuck into it. What's your opinions on Sandown as a punting track in general? Of course, we've seen a card this afternoon, but that weather forecast, which we spent ages.
Well, I mean, the weather's a nightmare, isn't it? I mean, I was writing on Thursday night, and I was looking at different websites, and one of them said 20 mil, and I thought, oh yes, because all mine could do with a little bit of cut, at least. And then I got up this morning and it was 2 mil. And then later on this afternoon, they come out with thunderstorm warnings, haven't they, the Met Office? So we don't know. It looks like they're going to get a little bit in the morning, but they're going to get, they may or may not get anything in the afternoon. I'm sure racegoers don't want to see any, but I wouldn't mind.
I assume your selections want a slight easing of the ground there, heat.
Yeah, it wasn't that fast. It's not going to be that fast. I mean, it is no excuses ground. We've seen that today, I think, don't you say?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, for the 2nd of July, Tom, you were all expecting absolutely rattling fast, but it looks like, decent racing ground out there today.
Yeah. I mean, like we say, we went through this all. Ross, we went through this all at Ascot, didn't we? Where one day it was supposed, the Thursday it was supposed to be raining and it didn't rain. The Friday, no one expected 50 millimetres. You got 50 millimetres. It's just, we don't know. We can go around what we think. I thought it was good ground today. It was slightly slower than good. It will be good if no rain came around. If they get a few showers, it'll be on the soft side of good. It's not going to be terrible, is it?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. But it won't bother you, Tom, anyway. Like you said, you draw biases, ground, track biases. It's, like you said, you always try and find...
It's not really my game, no.
You just find the best horse.
Yeah. I leave that to the people that are cleverer than me. I just try and work out which horse can run the fastest.
All right. Well, I mean, whichever horse is going to run the fastest, they're likely to be in one of the first 2 races at Sandown tomorrow as we kick off with 2 races over the minimum trip. The 5 furlong, a Coral beaten by a length free bet handicap kicks things off, and it's a nice little field of 10 lining up. Spoof comes into this off the back of a recent win. It's 3-1 favourite, as does Mockatil at 7-2, as does Sahek at 4-1. Then we've got Phoenix Star at 13-2, Hurricane Ivor 15-2, 17-2 is Lihu, 9-1 Bossy Pop, and then 18-1 bar those. We're talking about biases at 5 furlongs at Sandown. For a few years, you had to be drawn box 1 or you couldn't win. Then for a few years, if you were drawn in box 1, you couldn't win. Now it seems to have kind of levelled out a bit and seemed reasonably fair overall.
Yeah, I think it's definitely fairer than it used to be. So I wouldn't be getting too het up about the draw in this race. It's funny looking at these 3 last time out winners, so they're obvious ones at the head of the market. They've all got their chances. A bit of a surprise to see Mockatil have the headgear changed. I mean, he's won the dash in blinkers last time out, and they put a visor on for the first time this time. So I don't know what that's all about. I've actually backed a couple at bigger prices. The most obvious one of those is Bossy Pop. He's a veteran, but he's running right at the top of his game at the moment. It's just really, really consistent, and he's one of those horses. If he gets his own way, he can get away with it. And he won at Pontefract on soft ground earlier in the season. Pontefract is probably, if anything, a stiffer 5 furlongs than Sandown is. So I think the track will be fine for him. But I've also backed the complete outsider, Pettock side, who. Yeah, he's 12. He's already won a couple of times this season. Gets on great with Safi Osborne, and he's just lost it a little bit of late. But she gets back on, and he's now actually only £2 higher than when he absolutely bolted up 4 starts ago. And if he returns to that sort of form, he can definitely win. And I've just chucked a couple of quid at him at 25-1, 20-1.
There's a few for you that opener then for Paul. Kealy, Tom, I mean, we were talking about how this race is going to be won and track bias and so on and so forth. The first thing that stood out to me was there's not necessarily an obvious front runner, maybe Bossy Pop, but quite a few of those who come into this off the back of winning performances want a good gallop.
Absolutely. I mean, when I first looked at the race, I thought Mockatil had a really good chance. I thought the dash form was worked out quite well. Only Spoofing ran well all the other days. Stone of Destiny ran all right in the King's Stand, and I thought £6 rise probably gave him still a good chance in this. But as you say, I think he probably needs to come off a really strong pace. Whether he'll get it, I don't know. Spoof is 2 wins at the track as he got. He always runs well at Sandown. I think once he ran really badly, but most of the time he runs well. It's one of these type of races that you could imagine anything winning. So I could I fully understand why Keels has gone out the box in this race, because it's a Sandown sprint. I was brought up on Sandown. Literally, I could hear the race calls from my bedroom window, which is actually why I got into racing. And I've never really got 5 furlong handicaps there. I really, it was a time when, as you say, stall one was good. But for the past 3 or 4 years, I don't think so. I think it's all about race position and where you fit in. I was going to throw a few quid at the one Keel said, the first one, but Bossy Pop, just because I thought Tim Easterby coming down here. I know he's bringing Count d'Orsay to run in the next race, but I just thought it was an interesting move for him to come down here. And as you guys pointed out, he might get the run of the race from the front. So he was the one for me. I do think Mokkatil's got a big chance though, and I do think sometimes we get het up about pace and stuff because they end up going quite fast anyway. And he's a good horse. He has to be a good horse on what he showed. And the visor is slightly surprising, but I still think he'll run well. So those would be my 2, Bossy Pop and Mokkatil.
Okay, yeah, problem with 5 furlong sprints. Sometimes the jockeys also look at it and think there's no pace here, and half a field try and nick it. David, what did you make of this opener, and talk us through the market, because a couple of these have already shortened up since it opened.
Yeah, I mean, the 2 at the head of the betting, Spoof 3-1 from 7-2, and Mokkatil 7-2 from 9-2. I thought of the 3 at the head of the betting, the 3 last time out winners, I plumped for Sahek. I mean, of course, winner. I know we're talking about the draw. He's drawn 3, but that should be absolutely fine for him. But of the other 2 there that Paul mentioned, I mean, Bossy Pop, actually 9-1 was smaller earlier, 7-1. And the outside of Kills is now 28-1, I'm afraid. So I'm sure this has changed now that you've tipped them up. But at the moment, those 2 are actually on the drift slightly.
Okay, thanks.
Have more on. Bigger they get, bigger the bet.
Are you
joking aside, I will always have a little press up when they get bigger, because it just annoys you. But if you think a horse is wrongly priced at 6-1 and it goes to 10s, you're going to kick yourself if you haven't had some, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct.
Although you do then start to come up with all sorts of conspiracy theories of why it's
I never worry about that. I might moan about it and come up with a conspiracy theory after.
Moan about it afterwards.
But beforehand, I try to tell myself never worry about that.
Yeah, if it misses the break, then suddenly we'll all start to worry. But social comment has come in for that opener at Sandown. Get them in throughout this card and the show this evening. Chris Meister, 77. Sahek for me, given the draw, well handicapped on older form. That he is. So a wide open opener. Keels, your 2 against the field.
Bossy Pop and the old boy Pettock side.
Tom?
Bossy Pop and Mokkatil for me, Ross.
Very well, and I'm sitting this one out. 5 furlong handicaps at Sandown give me a headache at the best of times. David, what about you?
Just Sahek for me in this one.
There we go. Simple does it over at Sandown. That's the opener then at 1:15. 5 furlong handicaps might not be my bag, but I didn't mind the 5 furlong Coral Charge here. This Group 3 looks a nice little lineup this season, and Came From the Dark and Arecibo are top of the betting here at 7-2. The pair, Keep Busy 9-2, Lazuli is 5-1, Atlas Bay 8, Stone of Destiny 12s, Ainsdale 12s, and 16-1. Bar those, a couple of clashing form lines for this Coral Charge. Tom, older horses dominating the betting, albeit over the past 10 years. I think 3-year-olds have got a fantastic record in this. Atlas Bay standing out on that at 8-1. What did you make of this?
Yeah, I thought the 3-year-old Atlas Bay had a good chance. Yeah, I mean, the one thing about this I thought was didn't seem a bit like the first race. Too many front runners in this, and I think when you get to these group sprinters, they have their sort of set ways of running. I think with the handicaps, you might try and do something different if you think you're got a bit too much weight or you're not badly well drawn or something. But all these have a set way of running, and there wasn't that much pace, I didn't think. And I thought Atlas Bay might be the one that sort of made the running. Keep Busy might go forward for Ryan Moore from stall 1 as well. But I thought most of them were hold-up horses, your Stone of Destinies, your Count d'Orsay's, your Come From the Dark, your Arecibo, your Ainsdales. I thought they might be held up. So I wondered whether Atlas Bay might get the run of the race from the front. I thought he had a good chance. The worry is the ground for him. I think he's better on fast ground. He'd win as a 2-year-old on good to soft ground one day, but I think his best form's on quicker ground. So that would be a worry. He might be one to wait and play with. But I also thought Lazuli, the top weight, would go well. I know he's got a penalty for winning the thing, but I think he's getting better. He's more unexposed than the others. Came From the Dark is clearly an interesting horse, and I'm not worried about the draw at all, because if you watch the first race today, I think the winner of the Dragon Stakes, I think it was the one who sort of raced most up the middle anyway. So don't think the draw's going to be an issue. If he's over what ailed him for making him miss the King's Stand, then obviously he's got a chance. But I liked Atlas Bay. I think he's an improving young sprinter, and provided the ground doesn't go bad, I think he'll run really well.
Yeah, just having a look. 3-year-olds, last 10 years, 37 runners, 7 winners, 3 places. Older horses have won 3 from 64. So much better turnout, much lower turnout, and a much higher strike rate as well. There's usually more of them in this race, of course. But we do have some improving older sprinters. Are you going with the youngsters or the oldies?
The oldies for me. Well, she's not that old. I mean, I've got to. I backed Keep Busy anti-post. She's probably about the right price now, to be honest. But she's just one of these fillies that is just ludicrously tough. And then she ran a really, really, really good race at Ascot, and then she comes out and she's run at Ayr since, won a listed race. Now the third from that listed race won at Doncaster today, so that's
Altered up as well.
Reasonably good form. Probably not up to this level sort of form, but she's just a really, really tough horse who progressed and thrived on her racing last year, and she looks like she's doing it again. So I think you've got to have her on side. But I've had a couple of quid on Count D'Orsay because I'm convinced that he is going to at some point break into listed sort of group race level. Now, 2 runs ago, had he got a clear run, he'd have been right on the heels of King's Lynn, no doubt about it, at Haydock, which is admittedly probably his favourite track. But I mean, King's Lynn's come and finished an unlucky 7th in the King's Stand, probably could have been in second with a clear run himself, and then 3rd in the Wokenham. So I think that's solid form. And last week at Newcastle, he almost got taken out of the race at the start. That horse either side of him, one turn left, one turn right. He was the meat in the sandwich. That was it. But he was flying home late. He was only beaten a couple of lengths in the end. And I think a stiff 5 furlong with a bit of ease in the ground is probably absolutely perfect for him. I take on board Tom's point that they might not go that fast, but he's running in group company and they'll probably be fast enough for him at the start. So I'd take a chance with him at a big price.
All right, very well then. A couple against the field, and I'm kind of going in between the two of them. I thought I'm going to have to back Atlas Bay, as you said, Tom. I think is likely to be on the speed as it was last time out. 3-year-olds having a good record, an improving sort for a very much in-form team. But I agree. I think Keep Busy's got a cracking chance. I did have a look at draw stats in terms of when the ground goes softer. Obviously, there was a change in 2020. I think Sandown Connections came out basically and said, yeah, we did try and change things because it was getting a little bit ridiculous. And from 2020, we've had 5 races over 5 furlongs and good to soft or softer, and 3 of those 5 were won from box 1. So it's certainly not a negative. So I think Keep Busy has a brilliant chance and definitely got involved in that insane pace too early in the King's Stand. David, this is a really nice renewal of the Coral Charge.
Yeah, I love this race. The guys aren't going to like what I'm about to say. I'll back 2 horses in the race. Keep Busy and Atlas Bay.
Oh, there we go.
Keep Busy living up to her name. She came out obviously since Ascot, won up at Ayr, as the guys have said. And Atlas Bay obviously won the Scurry and 3-year-old. Yeah, so I backed both of those 2. Of the rest, I mean, Came for the Dark has obviously joined Arecibo at the head of the betting, as we can see. He was behind Lazuli in the Palace House, but he's been back to change that around. And Count D'Orsay had just shortened up to 12-1. I know it says 16 there, but had shortened up prior to you tipping it there, Kealy. So we were ahead of you on that one. But yeah, I have backed the 2. I'm afraid that you chaps fancy. But listen, I had a terrible Royal Ascot. Well, we can all put that behind us on Coral-Eclipse Day.
Yeah, I think. Well, I hope we do, because I also had a terrible Royal Ascot, David. So please, let's put it behind us, as I do actually like the look of the card tomorrow. We've got a social comment in then from Next Gen Racing, who say the Scurry Stakes winners have a good record in this. Atlas Bay could be overpriced. I mean, we're singing from the same hymn sheets here for this Coral Charge. Then for the 150.
Batash won both, didn't he?
Sorry,
did Batash win both?
He did, yeah.
There you go. Lovely assist there, guys. Nicely done. Let's move on then. From 5 furlongs again, up to a mile handicap here with 14 going to post. And again, an absolutely cracking field lining up here for the 225. The Coral Challenge is our next betting event, and it is 11-2, co-favourites of 3. This is a proper betting race. Montatham, Quitted and Pythagoras are those co-favourites that we just talked about. Tray Floor is 13-2. Magical Morning 7s. Ransom is an on-runner, 10-1. Escobar, 12-1. Marie's Diamond. And a man who will have been shouting Pythagoras home at Royal Ascot at the 2 furlong pole must be delighted to see him drop back to a mile, because he might have won over a mile.
Yeah, it was my big project. It's funny because I really fancied him, and I thought he was twice the price he should be, and he was back to the morning, and then he was back out, and he was drifting, and like I said, I kept chipping away at him, shall we say, So it went wrong, but I mean, when he swung into the straight, I thought, I'm on the one here. I've had it right off, but it didn't work, and it did seem, quite simple. He didn't stay. Now, I think the warning signs were probably there in the Dante when he sort of made that sort of move through the field then, and then didn't finish. But I'd given him the benefit of the doubt. He is a very talented horse, I'm sure of that. He's got a mark of 99. He gets £9 weight for age from the older horses. As long as the ground doesn't get too quick, which doesn't look likely now, does it? I think he's going to be very hard to beat if he gets the run of the race. I think he's a very talented horse, much better than a mark of 99, and I hope that he will do the business this time. I would put up one outsider of interest in Orban, who I thought shaped really well on first run after a wind up at Newcastle. Just got into trouble at the wrong time. Jockey wasn't remotely hard on him at all.
It was one of those, they kind of quickened off the front a bit, and he's absolutely a proper hold-up horse.
He's a proper hold-up horse. So I think he might run well at a price, although he probably won't want a lot of rain.
Yes, Jamie Spencer has got on board. Of course, he has abandoned his old friend Escobar, but Orban does look like a Jamie Spencer type ride. Montatham, of course, a winner in this race last year. William Haggas has won this the last 2 years, Tom. But this is a cracking little bet in here. How did you pick one out of this?
Yeah, I love this race. I've always liked this race. There's plenty of pace in there. 2 Mark Johnsons in there. I think key to these races are always the pace, and I think you got Maidani and Marie's Diamond in there, so we're going to get a really strong pace. I don't think you can bet without backing Pythagoras. If you fancy one at an outside price, at least save on him, because 3-year-olds have done really well in this race. Tiger de Terre won it a couple of years ago. Not many run. I remember one of Clive Cox's winning it at 33-1 a few years ago as well as a 3-year-old. I just think, as Kealy says, gets £9 weight for age. He wasn't beaten far in the Dante, and the winner went. We saw what the winner did last week in the Irish Derby. I just down the bottom of the weights there. I'm hoping Paddy Mathers watched the telly today, because you didn't want to stick on that far rail. It was quite clear that all the winners were coming up the middle. So I'm hoping from stall 3 that he doesn't get forced, or doesn't stay on that far rail, because I think that's the slowest ground. Andrew Cooper came on the telly and sort of almost said as much. You want to be coming up the middle, so I'm hoping they all come up the middle. I think they will. I did have a good look at Orban. It just struck me that he might be getting ready for York. All his best forms at York, I think. Whether he's a Sandown horse, I don't know. And one of the other ones that Jamie Spencer got off, I'm quite interested, because I know earlier in the week he was jocked up for Plant a Dream, and he's switched to Orban, which is probably a tip for Orban in itself. But I think Plant a Dream's going to go and run really well. If you look at his back form in November, only 6 months ago, he split Astro King, who was second in the Hunt Cup, won on his side, and Oh This Is Us, who is a group winner, multiple group winner, and won the race on Derby Day the other day as well. He is £5 lower in the weights, and he ran a blinder at Epsom last time in very soft ground. He was drawn in trap 1, and he's a bit slow away, and he got behind, switched right round the field, finished strongly, would have been second in another stride. He thrashed all those that raced with him. Coronado, Esperanza, or whatever it's called, got away up the front, and he was never going to catch him, but he would have been second in another stride. And I just think the race is going to set up for him. I'm a big fan of Martin Dwyer, so I'm not worried that he's taken over. And I just thought this race would suit him better than Orban. I was tossing up between the two as the other selection, but I ended up on Plant a Dream, because I just felt that Orban might prefer York. So I'm with Keels on Pythagoras. I don't think you can bet without him. And the other one I like is Plant a Dream.
Okay, very well. Wide open and plenty of opinions here at Sandown, and we haven't even mentioned the one I really like here, and that's Magical Morning, who went off. I think he was morning favourite for the Hunt Cup. Might have been the Detorian Gosden factor, but he hit the front about a furlong and a half from home, and then as soon as a horse went past him, Frankie Dettori was a little bit easy, I feel. I think he could have finished 4th or maybe 5th. He finished 8th in the end. He got swamped by a few horses. It looked to me like a really nice return to action for him, and that second to Matthew Flinders last year reads really well. And I think you're right, Tom. I mean, I have so many horror memories of backing horses who try and go down that inside rail at Sandown and find an entire field in front of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I say, I've so many times. I've been Sandown more times than probably I've had hot dinners. I mean, I go nearly every time ever at Sandown, and I'm with you. It is a track where you need a lot of luck if you hold up on that rail. But as I say, tomorrow I think they're going to all come up the middle. I think there'll be plenty of room for all the others, because that's what we saw. You can Glen do it. We saw all those horses come up the middle. The 2-year-old, the impressive 2-year-old Sonny Liston came up the middle today, and I just think that's what they'll all do. So I'm not expecting traffic troubles up the far rail, and if you do go up the far rail, you're not going to win anyway.
Yeah, of course, the Lady Amateur Riders race, they all came down the middle, and the softer it gets at Sandown, the more inclined they are to come to this near side. David, 4 places, I believe, for this wide open handicap, which is the least we need, I think.
Yeah, 11-2 co-favourites of 3 says it all. Montatham was 11-10 12 months ago. Obviously, much bigger price this time. Acquitted Pythagoras of those 3 is the one. Pythagoras to the one that's shortened from 7-1. Of the others there, Keels mentioned Orban 16-1, Planter Dream 12-1, and first enhanced special of the night. Ryan Moore doesn't, ironically, have a ride in this race, but he does have a good book of rides tomorrow, including Keep Busy in the Coral Charge that we've already covered. Ryan Moore to ride 3 or more winners here tomorrow. Was 5-1. Gone out to 6-1 there. So as I say, Ryan doesn't have a ride in this race, but plenty of other good rides for Ryan Moore tomorrow.
There we go. Ryan Moore to ride 3 or more winners, 6-1 from 5-1. And he doesn't have a ride in this race, David, but you have given me a lovely segue into the Coral Distaff, as he is on the warm favourite in the shape of Statement. So let's move on then for the 3-year-old fillies listed contest over the mile here. And Statement is very warm at the top of the betting. 2-1 currently for Martin Mead and the aforementioned Ryan Moore. Then a big jump out to Shine For You, Aurea, Ready to Venture and Anti-Bridie, all at 7-1. It's 10-1 Seattle Rock. Glasgow Girl is 10-1, 12-1 Lucy Dreamer, and bigger prices the rest. Tom, I'm going to come to you first for this one. They keep backing Statement. You get the feeling that someone somewhere thinks this horse is a Group 1 filly. She's not had a great deal of luck so far this season. She's short enough for this.
Not sure. Not what she is now. I thought when she was 7-2 or whatever earlier in the week, I thought it was pretty fair. I mean, I think she's clearly the form horse in this race. Second to Alcohol Free in the Fred Darling Primo Baccio back in 4th. We all know how well that's form's worked out. Obviously, the Guineas went all wrong for her. She's by Lawman. I don't think the ground really suited her that day anyway. Far too quick for her, but she pulled too hard and didn't get home. And then another good run at Epsom last time where she was held up out the back in a slow. And well, it wasn't that slowly run, but the horses from the back never got into it. I think she's by far the most likely winner. Would I back her at 15-8 now? Most certainly not, given that she can pull hard and she's, as we say, she's always unlucky. I thought there were a couple in there you could back against her. Aurea was definitely one of them back at this trip. I didn't think she stayed a mile and a quarter last time. I think she's gonna definitely run well. And the other one, I thought people sort of given up on her, but Seattle Rock. She had a lot of good form as a 2-year-old. She was running in all the best races. She was quite impressive in a maiden last time. They switched tactics on her back at Newbury, and I wondered if they'd go forward with her, because I think going forward might be the key in this race. I didn't see that much pace in this, and so therefore I thought she might run well if they got on with her. So originally I thought stall 11 wouldn't be great for her, but as I say, I think they'll all come up the middle, so I don't think it's a problem. And I thought my 2, I do think Statement will probably win. I think she's the standout filly, but the 2 against her would be Aurea and Seattle Rock, because the rest have big question marks against them. There's a lot in there that don't look good enough or have been running badly.
Okay, Aurea and Seattle Rock, 7-1 and 10-1 shots against Statement, who, again, is short enough, Paul, but, I mean, like I said, we've talked several times about that Newbury form, haven't we? About...
Well, if she runs to that level, second to Alcohol Free with Horse Islet, Primo Baccio, there as well, who probably should have won, but, I mean, that is really rock solid. The main problem is she's run twice since not come close to it, is she? And if she runs as she has been running, she's not a 2-1 shot. You know, so there's an awful lot of belief in that price that she's going to be the filly she was at Newbury. So I'm
that one standout piece of form.
Yeah, exactly. It's an outlier, isn't it?
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean.
£7 ahead of everything else.
Yeah, it's way better than everything else she's done. And you know, if she reproduces it, she wins. But will she? I wouldn't back her at 2-1 to do so. It's simple as that, really. I'm like Tom. I like Aurea. I saw her run at Ascot, and I just thought she definitely needed a trip. And then I'm not convinced she didn't stay. I have a feeling she didn't like the ground. Right, it's been very fast the 2 times she's run so far this year. She got quite a knee action on her.
Yeah.
She made a debut on really bad ground last year and ran quite well. She's half sister to Beat the Brank, who, you know, in the end handled everything, but was pretty useful on soft ground early in his career, wasn't he? He really seemed to enjoy it. So I think she may well appreciate a bit more ease in the surface. I think she likes Sandown. She's the one I've backed. I'm a bit baffled by the jockey bookings for the 2 Haggis horses. Auntie Bridie, Ready to Venture. I mean, obviously, Auntie Bridie is officially a £10 better filly, but Adam Farraher, who I know next to nothing about, he has a 5% strike rate in Ireland from nearly 400 rides. He's yet to ride a winner in Britain and can't claim the £5 claim. It's just a strange one, isn't it? I mean, you'd expect someone like James Doyle to be on if he's, you know, available. Obviously, he's not. He's riding something else. But you expect some top jockey to get a ride in a race like this.
He's got 2 obviously rides Montatham in the previous race as well, so he's got 2
yeah,
really
exactly,
high profile
but you can understand riding Montatham because he's on a top weight in a handicap and he takes £5 off. Not being able to claim when, you know, I'm sure there's a pick of some pretty decent jockeys at Sandown tomorrow. Strange one.
The only thing I could come up with, I did have a look at his rides in Ireland, and he won multiple races on a horse called Step Too Far, who won loads of sprints, and a horse called Annie Fior, who won loads of sprints. Both fillies who really struck in form. I don't know if maybe rides her at home and just has got a good tune out of her.
Yeah, I mean, it must be something. Just, you know, we don't know, but he might also be very promising. William Haggis doesn't put mugs on horses, does he? You know what I mean? Almost every jockey he's got riding for him has a great strike rate for him at the end, doesn't he? You know, so we'll have to wait.
He beat Snowfall and Willow on debut as well.
Yeah, no, he's got the form. I mean, he's officially the second best filly in the race, and by a fair margin too.
Okay, but just remind us.
Aurea for me, same as Tom.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. I think the stiff finish here again. I mean, she was eating up the ground at Ascot, and I think Sandown's, the Sandown mile is just under 2 seconds slower than Ascot. So in theory, the stiff mile here at Sandown should be absolutely perfect for her. And I see she's been well backed, and now I know why. As you two put her up on the website and scuppered that double figure each way price. David, she has attracted support already, Aurea.
She certainly has, yeah, down to single figures now, 7-1. I mean, I first looked at this statement. I mean, 2-1, plenty short enough. Okay, on her best form, first run of the season, but you've got to forgive her last 2 now. Were there really excuses for Epsom? I don't know. She was one I wanted to take on, and then I looked through. There's kind of question marks against all of these. As you say, don't know much about the jockey on Auntie Bridie, don't know too much about the horse, but there is obviously that decent form there. Aurea, see the guys have made a very strong case, also looks an obvious sort of each-way alternative. But, of course, we've got another special on this race, and it is Statement, one of our market leaders of the day, along with Arecibo and Montatham, who we've touched on their races already. If any 2 of those 3 win tomorrow, was 5-1, out to 6-1. So if you do like Statement and you fancy one of those other 2 as well, 6-1 was 5-1.
Okay, Arecibo, Montatham or Statement, 2 of those 3 to win. 6-1 pushed out from 5-1. So let's just wrap that race up. Aurea, I think. Is that about right?
Sounds about right.
I'm disappointed that Mr. Stevens is on Aurea, I have to admit.
No, I'm not on it. I couldn't find anything else, but I will do you a favour and I won't back it. I should cheer it home for you, Thomas.
You just keep your £5 in your pocket, my friend.
There we go. That is the Coral Distaff then, the 3 o'clock contest tomorrow. That listed race for the fillies. It's a good little lineup, and we're all singing from the same hymn sheet is a good angle for Aurea, I'd say. Anyway, moving on to the big one, the big race of Saturday afternoon. It is a bit of a punch-up here between the classic generation and the older horses. Just the 4 on for them going to post. But what a 4 we've got here. We've got Mishriff heading the betting for the Coral-Eclipse 2021 at 6-4, narrowly at the top of the betting here from St Mark's Basilica, 13-8. And Dave still going strong at the age of 7 is 11-4, and El Drama, who weakened pretty tamely behind St Mark's Basilica, but certainly wasn't that much of a price differential over in France, and is now a 28-1 shot lining up here on its first start since then. So a lot to talk about in this race, despite the small field. But the main thing here, Paul, is tactics. How this race is going to be run, which horse is going to be suited by, a small field and potentially a quickening of the pace, or do you expect someone to go and take the bull by the horns? How are you seeing this unfold?
A Dabe. I think.
Right. Okay. Very well.
For me, I think he's the most likely one to go forward. Mishriff can be very keen, can't he? I can't imagine them want to go on with him. And St Mark's Basilica is normally not on the front end. So yeah, I think Tom Marquand will try to set the pace he wants to go. Obviously, more rain the better for him. But he is officially the best horse in the race. I still can't understand why he isn't favourite. I've backed him. I shall probably press up if the rain comes. He's just a really, really consistent horse. More than 2 years since he finished out the first two. Obviously beat Mishriff by miles in the Champion Stakes last year. John Gosden come out with another load of nonsense about a horse not handling the ground, because the horse obviously handles soft ground very, very well. His profile tells you it did. And obviously, if it does get chuck it down with rain, they're all going to be suited for it. But because St Mark's Basilica is fine on it as well, so if it doesn't, I think probably Mishriff may be the one that's the most versatile. But even so, I'm a bigger Dove fan. I don't think St Mark's Basilica has actually beaten anything any good. But if you take it as read that Poetic Flair didn't run his race in France in the French Guineas, which I think we can say for pretty certain he didn't, given what he did at Ascot, then what's he beaten in the French Derby? I mean, nothing. I mean, the locals were so unimpressed with their horses that they sent Derab off as second favourite, a Newmarket novice winner. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah. Whereas, if, for example, you compare, Mishriff, the two horses he beat in the Shima Classic, they both won Group 1s on their next start.
Yeah, so exactly. If there's a horse that's definitely the wrong price, it's St Mark's Basilica. He should be the outsider of the three. I'm convinced of that. He's just got that sexy 3 in a row, Group 3s, all against his own generation. You know what I mean? But this generation, at that, the ones he beat might not be very good.
Yeah, and Tom, back in Ryan Moore ridden, Aidan O'Brien trained 3-year-olds in Group 1s this year would have cost you a fair old packet.
Yeah, I mean, well, backing Aidan O'Brien in Group 1s in Britain, in England, hasn't been great anyway, has it? I mean, apart from Mother Earth and Love, they didn't have a great Royal Ascot. They got wiped out in the Irish Derby, didn't they, the other day? I'm not sure they've got too many wonder 3-year-olds bar Snowfall. I'm with Keels. I think he's the wrong price, because even if you look back to his Dewhurst win, he's beating Wembley and Deville Waller and Thunder Moon, who've hardly beaten a horse this season between them. You know what I mean? I mean, the form just doesn't stack up, really. That's not to say he's not got a great profile. He's won the Dewhurst, the French Guineas and the French Derby. He's clearly a very, very good horse. But like Keel says, he's up against two horses now that have, beaten the best around the world in Adabe and Mishriff. He's the one that's too short for me. He can't win. Of course he can win. He's an improving 3-year-old that keeps winning Group 1s. But for me, he's too short. I can't choose between the other two. I wouldn't be surprised if Mishriff went on myself, simply because we know he stays really well. He stays further. I think he's the one who would least like a sprint of the three main ones. I think he's the one that we know stays 1.5 miles properly, and therefore I wouldn't be surprised if John Gosden fancied making the running with him. If he pulls too hard, obviously, then they won't do that. If they think they can't settle him, then obviously they won't do that. But I personally think it's about which horse is in front turning for home, because if it's Adabe, I don't think they'll get past him, and if it's Mishriff, I don't think they'll get past him. So basically, the way the race goes, at the prices, you have to go for Adabe because he's double the price, don't you? But I wouldn't be surprised if Mishriff won.
Okay, it's a 4-runner race, of course. We've got to mention El Drama because it's like he's got poor form. The horses he beat at Chesterfield, Maximal, Earlswood, Fox's Tails have all franked the form with big runs in good races, and it was a funny one at Shanty. Paul, he was drawn out wide, but tracked all the way across to get a really nice prominent position, turned into the home straight, all was going fine, and bang, went out like a light.
Yeah, I mean, it can happen if you do too much too early to get a good position from out wide, can't you? I mean, that's the problem with being drawn on the outside in races on a round track. Sometimes you can do too much. don't really know what to make of him. I mean, I suppose when you look at the form of that Chester run, it's a lot better than we thought it was at the time, isn't it? Like, so.
Well, Maxwell was fourth, wasn't he, behind
Yeah.
Vitic Flair? Earlswood was arguably unlucky in the Irish Derby. He was almost. He was in the.
Keels, what was the name of that Gerard Butler horse that won the Eclipse, the 3-year-old?
Compton Admiral.
That's it.
Compton Admiral.
Yeah, why were you asking me?
Particular profile, didn't he?
Yeah. It could be. We have had.
Then he went to the Derby or a Derby and completely blew out, and then came and won the race. El Drama does have that sort of profile. He's not a no-hoper by any chance.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, he's. I'm just going to look at Compton Admiral. Yeah, very similar. Beaten in the Guineas, heavily beaten in the Derby. Sent off 20-1 for the 1999 Coral-Eclipse Stakes.
My era.
There we go. I was 15 and couldn't care less about horse racing back in 1999. Oh, how times have changed. David, talk to us about the betting for this. Of course, this is an anti-post race as well, and it must have been quite an interesting betting heat. And now the market has opened up, and we know who's running. Has anything exciting happened over the past 48 hours?
No, I mean, the two at the head of the betting have been at the head of the betting for some time. Of course, the last two Prix du Jockey Club winners, Lord North was in there. See, he came out earlier in the week. And Adabe is the one that has shortened because we weren't sure he was going to run. We thought what the ground would be, but obviously William Haggis came out a couple of days ago and said, look, we will run. El Drama looks the complete rag here, but having just gone back over that Chester run, and you forgive him that run in Shanty, 28 to 1 a big price. Gents, just to ask you, I mean, the 3-year-olds, so Marks Basilica, obviously, and El Drama, getting £10. You're not worried that brings St Mark's Basilica and El Drama back into it?
Well, they get that for a reason, don't they? I mean, I suppose we always argue that's a lot when it comes to the handicappers, but, at the top level, it might be a lot too, but, I'm still not convinced that the form is all that. Like, what I mean? And it's not like they'd ever beat them off levels, really, is it? You know what I mean? They need a certain amount of weight for their lack of maturity. So I'm going to say no. I expect it to be fought out by Mishrif and Adabe, hopefully with Adabe winning.
I mean, we've had three 3-year-olds win this in the past 10 years. One was Golden Horn, who was 4-9. One was Roaring Lion, who was 7-4 favourite. So, but then again, St Mark's Basilica does have, like you said, Tommy. Even though we are against him, or you're against him specifically, he's won 3 Group 1s on the bounce.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, if you come in here, if you hadn't had those 6 runs beforehand where he'd won a maiden and got beaten a few times, you'd be saying this is one the Dewhurst, the French Guineas, and the French Derby. You're sort of scratching your head why you went for the French Guineas rather than the English Guineas, but there must have been some reason to it. Maybe it's because he's French bred. I think it's by Sioni. Maybe that was their thinking behind that.
Could it be in the ground as well, Tom, maybe?
I don't know. I'm not one for ground. You know that.
Trainers often are, so that's the thing.
No, but if you think you got the Guineas winner, you don't go to France, do you? Yeah. That's simple as that. They've never done it before. They've run 7 in the race and nothing in France in the past. So I don't think that's the reason. I don't know. As you say, I mean, I'm going to throw you back to this. Going back even further, Keels will remember 1991 Environment Friends. You remember Environment Friends?
Yeah, Bill Gridley.
Yeah, won the Dante by 6 lengths. Favourite for the Derby, I think, blew out and then came and won this by a long way. It's not unheard of that this El Drama will run well, but I think this time he's up against two proper older horses. I can't make my mind up. I think I'll end up backing Adabe simply because he's the bigger price, especially if it rains. But I'm a massive Mishris fan as well. I've been, he's one of my cliff horses, and he did me so many favours last year that I don't really want to desert him either. But I do think, to answer your question, Ross, which I've got around in about 20 minutes, which is a good effort, wasn't it? I think the 3-year-olds are going to struggle.
And it was David's question as well. So, social poll: who wins the Coral-Eclipse? Mishrif 30%, St Mark's Basilica 40%. So the viewers at home thinking St Mark's Basilica for them, Adabe 25% and El Drama at 5%. So based on that, actually, St Mark's Basilica should be shorter in theory. Okay, I'm going to go for Mishrif. I think he's I think if he had won the races that he had won on these shores, I think he would have a much stronger following, and I do think he's the best horse, and he could be. I think he could have been odds on if he had been winning those races in the UK. Mishrif for me, Paul.
I'm a big Adabe fan.
Okay, a day for you. Tom, you're a bit on the fence, but if you...
Yeah, I can't make my mind up between those two. I mean, I'll end up on a day because he's the bigger price, but okay. I do think Mishriff might be the better horse.
And David, what wins the Coral-Eclipse?
Well, just very quickly, we mentioned Environment Friend there and Compton Admiral, and with the greatest respect of both of those horses, they don't give the best impression of the Coral-Eclipse in the last 30 years. I just want to mention, the likes of Dancing Brave, the likes of Nashwan, Giant's Causeway, Felbrab, See the Stars, of course. I just wanted to remark, because Compton Admiral is not one of the vintage Coral-Eclipse, with the greatest of respect. But just going back to the poll there, look, the punters there are going 40% St Mark's Basilica, 30% Mishriff, the last two Breeders' Jockey Club winners. If you fancy those two horses for the reverse forecast, and clearly looking at the poll there, plenty of people do. We were 5-4 and now 6-4. And that's all my way of saying I haven't got a clue who's going to win this. 4 runners. I hope they serve up a cracking race. And I whisper it quietly, God, if Our Drama comes and pips them all, well, congratulations to Our Drama. You had a go. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, you've got to be in it to win it. Mishriff and St Mark's Basilica, reverse forecast in the Coral-Eclipse, 6-4 from 5-4. That's tomorrow's feature race then. We've still got 3 more on the card though, and they are juicy handicaps, again with decent fields and big prices abound. Macram heading the betting for the 410. This is a 10 furlong handicap. It's 3-1 Macram, 9-2 Piv1, 5-1 Classical Wave, 6-1 Dream With Me, 7-1 Man of the Night, 10-1 Sword Beach, Breathcourt is 12's Luigi Vampa, 14-1, and bigger prices the rest. Macram has been involved in 2 of the hottest handicaps of the season. But this, I mean, again, 11 runners and even a couple of the outsiders. I thought, the likes of Luigi Vampa and Rhythmic Intent. I thought,
yeah, it was one of those. I mean, you certainly can't argue with Macram's position in the market, can you? No. Because he's been second to Surrey Pride at York and then second in the Zetland. If it absolutely lashed down, I wouldn't be 100% certain with him because he's got that one bad one on good to soft ground. Most of it's been on a bit quicker. There's a couple I like at bigger prices though. Old Boy, Restorer. He's actually returned his best RPR on good to firm ground last time for 4 years. When he was second to Data Protection. He all gave Data Protection too much rope. But he finished ahead of the odds-on favourite. I think he's in pretty good nick. He's got blinkers first time, a £5 claimer going on board. He can definitely still win off a mark of 95 and a little bit easy in the ground, that'll suit him. So I think he'll run well. And Sword Beach, I think he's going to end up being one of my cliff horses. He never wins. He looks like a little bit of a hound. He stepped up in trip last time. It may have been too far. He may just not have wanted to know, but he pulled out wide on the outside of Windsor. If you remember, you obviously do. Because you're grinning at me. I've found another professional loser.
He is. I mean, there must be. I don't know what the opposite of a fan club is, but there's a lot of people who are waiting for their money back on Sword Beach.
Really do. He's got a bit of talent for a horse rated 79, and maybe this trip will suit it. But I mean, if they're going hammer and tongs in the last furlong, don't expect him to win.
There's a few against the field then at Sandown for that 4:10. Tom, are you with Macram or against?
Definitely against Macram. Definitely against Macram. I mean, I know what you're saying about the form. I didn't think it was a great race last time, the Zetland Gold Cup. I think this is a hot race. I think you can fancy all of these here. I think this is as good as the Zetland Gold Cup easily, and not convinced by him. He keeps coming second for me. Thought Dream With Me would run better if he got an easy lead off the front. He clearly went way too fast in soft ground at Epsom. He's a very well bred horse for Mark Johnson. He's really, really properly. He's from the Ballydoyle sort of bloodlines, Coolmore bloodlines, and he's by Frankel. So I think the more the ground dries up, the better he'll be. As you well know, I'm not a Mark Johnson fan on soft ground, and Mildenberger, I thought, was spinning his wheels today on Sandown, so it needs to dry out for him. I'm sort of waiting for him at Goodwood, actually. I thought the mile and a 10 furlong handicap at Goodwood would suit him. And I made a case for all of them. Literally all of them in there. I thought I could see Sword Beach running well. It's a surprise. Keel's tipping an Eve Johnson Horton horse. I've never heard you do that before. Blimey.
We do have our soft spots, don't we?
I'm a big fan of Rhythmic Intent. I think he needs a bit further. But if they go strong, I think he could come into it. The one I liked was Man of the Night. I thought the horse he beat last time at Doncaster, he got beaten by and then was promoted by, is a pretty good horse. I think it's a horse going places of Michael Stout's. And last year in that really good handicap on the July meeting, He was second in that really strong race that's happening next week. And I thought that was really strong form. He came sort of up the outside. Zabil Champion won it. HMS President Kipps was in there. And I've been sort of waiting for him since then to show that form again. And he hadn't done it. And I thought he'd completely gone. He ran terribly in the Lincoln. He ran badly on soft ground at Newmarket off that. But he was back at Newmarket at Doncaster last time. He just seems to me that he's dropped to a mark he can win off. And if he's found his mojo again, he'd be my one man of the night. Once again, he's another one that wouldn't want a lot of rain. But if it continues to dry out, I thought Ryan Moore and man of the night would run well. As I say, I wanted to take on Macram, and he was the one I ended up on.
Okay, man of the night and 7-1 here. I fancied a couple here. Piv One, I thought was back to his best last time out. He won the John Smiths off about a stone higher than this mark, and it didn't look like a race that would necessarily suit him last time out. And he beat Chichester, who's franked that form by winning Cosley next time over at Carlisle. And also Luigi Vampa a little bit. I mean, there's definitely a few sandwiches short of a picnic, I feel. But the only horse to make any ground whatsoever.
There's a few of them in there.
Sorry?
There is a few of them in there. Man of the Night's another one.
He is, yeah. He is.
It is. It could be a pretty painful race to watch. I get the feeling at some point, it wouldn't surprise me if in the final film they were all in a line and it was just who actually wanted to win. So there is a few there, but there's a few selections. Social comment in from James Knight, who he's working double time. He says, "Tell Tom Segal to get off the fence and back Adabe. Clearly going to win the race." There you go. You're getting.
He texted me about 20 minutes ago saying, "How far was Adabe going to win?" So I said, "What, about a neck?
Yeah.
Maybe half a neck."
It's always nice when head trader of the sponsors comes in and sends you abuse via the social comments.
Exactly.
Absolutely, James. Look, if you want to have your say, you need to come into the studio. That is the lesson here for that one. Wide open handicap here. Let's clear up the thoughts here because we are. I'm not going to say all over the place, but we've mentioned pretty much every horse in the race. Paul.
Yeah, I've forgotten the name of it now. I'm looking down. Sword Beach and a Restorer. I do think Restorer will run well at a big price.
Okay, Sword Beach and Restorer. Tom.
Yeah, I'm with the nutty man of the night, but Keels is tempting me with Restorer. He's the type of race he wins. I've been against him a few times, and he's won races, especially around Chester, that I didn't think he had any chance of winning. So, sounds like he might be the type of one that I'll throw a few quid at.
And Piv One and Luigi Vampa for me in this 410. So that's half the field. David, do you have anyone else from work who wants to get involved?
No, it saves us. Normally they're abusing me, so it makes a change. I feel I've got to show my notes because I went through this earlier, and Restorer is on my list, Kills. I know he's older than us now, but don't be like that. Look, it's Coral-Eclipse Day. Anything's possible.
Oh, yeah.
It's a new reputation you've garnered for cursing horses, David.
Actually, to be fair, whenever we've been racing together, I've been his lucky charm. He's actually won a few quid, so hopefully that will repeat itself.
Exactly. That's where we went wrong at Royal Ascot, Kills. We weren't watching it together. So yeah, I just look, and I can tell I backed Restorer because I backed him at 14s. He's now 18-1, so that says it all. And I have also backed the favourite because I thought his 2 runs this year were good, and he could be a horse I follow off a cliff, but I'm going to certainly stick with Macram for now. But yeah, a couple of quid on Restorer as well.
Okay, very well. That is the 410 at Sandown then. 2 more handicaps to go. The 445, they're both 3-year-old handicaps and they're both wide open. 7 furlongs is the distance for this next one. Run to Freedom, another warm favourite here that's been very well backed for Henry Candy and Oisin Murphy. 2-1. Il Bandito, 9-2. Third Kingdom, 5s with Fantasy Master at 5s as well. Typical Man. 7-1, 9-1 for Aussie Lane, 10-1 Bowman, and 18-1 Bardo. So is this your doing as well for Run to Freedom? There's a lot of money about.
No, nothing to do with me. That I thought we might all be in agreement in here and to say that if Fantasy Master stays, then he'll win, won't he? Because he absolutely rocketed home at Royal Ascot. I think everyone. I know Tom was on and I was on at Royal Ascot last time. And if you look at his pedigree, you'd say he wants at least 7 furlongs. So I would say let's give him a shot. I can understand the money for Run to Freedom. Henry Candy, lightly raced, solid form and that. But, if Fantasy Master stays 7 furlong, it could well improve quite a lot for it. It's just been 3rd in a Royal Ascot handicap and he's 5-1. I think that's just a big price.
Okay, yeah.
It was due to run tonight, but it was as a non, but later on tonight, but as a non-runner. So
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of stamina in the pedigree as well. So
loads, yeah. Dan won over 1 mile and 2. If anything, it's not far enough.
Yeah, if anything,
you know what I mean. So
it's a bizarre that they were running him over 5, wasn't
exactly,
it?
yeah.
So Fantasy Master then for Keels. Like I said, I'm a bit frustrated about the price on Run to Freedom, just because I mean this horse travels like an absolute monster, and he maybe hit the front a bit too soon last time out, and hopefully that will take the gas out of him. But he's been well backed. What are you putting up against the market leader? Or are you with the Candy Animal?
Well, it's a bit like the one in the earlier race that we were talking about. There was sort of
that statement.
Statement that actually, I don't want to be with Statement, and I certainly don't want to be with Run to Freedom at the prices. But watching that race again, you got to think he's a well handicapped horse that is going to win races off his mark. Currently, 2-1 is just not for me. This is a red hot handicap, isn't it? With loads of horses from big stables in it. I like Keels was on Fantasy Master last time. I think he'll go well. This is my Cliff horse. Is a horse called Farazi Lane. I've been following him since he sort of went against the draw bias at Newbury on one of his on his debut. He was 4th on his debut at Newbury in a race that worked out quite well. Ken Gorm won it, went on to run in group races, and he ran down the near side where all the winners came up the far side, and he beat his yard by miles at a huge price. And I've sort of been waiting for him. He won a small race at Kempton, but he was back and Newmarket last time, ran really well. He hangs a bit. He's a bit funny, but he's got the ability to win a race like this. I was hoping he'd be a bit of a bigger price, but he's not. But I'm going to stick with him for RZ Lane. But I do think Run to Freedom is going to be hard to beat.
I thought it was interesting. Yeah, I mean, he's another mild Cliff horse for me. But they've put the cheek pieces back on, Tom, which they took off after he won at Campton. And this is the first time they put him back on because he did.
Yeah, they have got them back on. And if you would have seen him last time, Ross. He was all over the place, wasn't he? He was in and he went in behind the other horse. He should have won again. That's probably the 3rd or 4th race he should have won that he hasn't won. But I think the ability's there, and one day he's going to win a race like this. It could easily be this one. Although, as I say, I think Run to Freedom could possibly be a class above.
Yeah, he certainly looks at the form with Highland Avenue, Quintilius, and that silent film came out of a good race at Wolverhampton as well. So it's all stacking up. But again, we've missed the price here, David. Run to Freedom was what 3-1, 7-2 maybe, and he's now 2-1 favourite.
Yeah, again, same thing. When I was looking at this afternoon, 7-2 favourite. You thought, yeah, that's probably fair on that second to the Godolphin horse. It's gone already. So too, yeah, you do. It was terrible, and you feel you've missed the boat on one. Could get even shorter, and will probably go and win. Of the rest here, just got to mention Third Kingdom. Big day, obviously, for David Egan and Team Gosden tomorrow. And it's Team Gosden, John and Thady, who are the subject of our last enhanced special of the day. If they have 2 or more winners, Team Gosden tomorrow was 3-1, now 7-2. So, as I say, Mishriff, their star, but big day all round tomorrow for David Egan and the Gosdens.
Okay, the Gosden team to train 2 or more winners, 7-2 from 3-1. Yeah, they've got, Magical Morning, Sanita, Castana. Just to check, is that just at Sandown or?
Sorry, yes, that's just on the Coral-Eclipse card, yeah.
Yeah, because they've got one in the Old Newton Cup, haven't they, over at Haydock, and Mishriff and Third Kingdom, of course, are the other 2 at Sandown. So, Paul, your selection for the penultimate?
Oh, I've forgotten the name of it now. No, Fantasy Master.
Fantasy Master.
I'm already studying up on the last.
No, that's fine. You're always being ahead of the game. Tom?
I'm going to lose some more money on Farazi Lane.
Very well. I'll stick with Run to Freedom, but not necessarily at the price. I hope he drifts a little bit. And David?
I'm a Run to Freedom fan, but again, be like you now, waiting for a bigger price. It will probably never come.
No, it probably won't, and it'll bolt up and we'll regret not getting up earlier. The final race on the card tomorrow then is an absolute belter. I'll tell you what, if you get to 5:15 and you're looking for an easy profit, then you're not going to find it here. But hopefully we will find something to back each way at a big price. Wink of an Eye is the favourite here, taking a lot of the market for William Haggis and Tom Marquand at 5-2. Helm Rock 13-2. Glen Eaglet and Mustazid at 7. Something Enticing 15-2. Pure Bubbles 10s. Balearic 11s. Remedium 12s. And bigger prices the rest. We haven't got long left on the show. I could easily talk about this race for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, but I was one of those where I hope that I don't care what the result of this one is by the 8th.
You could back 8 of them.
Because if I need
Keels,
it,
I know you won't even be able to know what the result is by the 8th.
well, that's the plan. but yeah, I mean, it's one of those. Like, you know, if I'm well behind, I would end up backing one of the outsiders. But I do think Wink of an Eye is the most likely winner. I think it's very progressive. Got out of a hole last time. But I am quite interested in Pure Bubbles with Ryan Moore staying for the last rider for the old fella. Shaped really well on first run for a gelded after being gelded last time at Newmarket. I don't think that, you know, it's an improvement, steady improvement with pretty much every run. And I think, you know, might run well at a price. I see the Coles have knocked 4 points off it already, so there's been a few quid sniffing around for it.
Okay, there you go. There's one for Keels in the finale. Tom, it's a blinder. Give us a nice price.
Yeah, I got one at a nice price here. Rewired for David. I'm going to say it. Dave, you ready for this, David Stevens?
Menwizier.
Lovely stuff.
It's got a great record at Sandown, hasn't he? The Arundel maestro, let's call him. Form of his third at Newmarket last season, second at Newmarket, no second last season's worked out really well. Amman, Olympic Theatre, lots of horses in there have come out and run well. He blew out last time, Rewired, but I think he's the outsider of the whole field. He probably didn't get the trip in very soft ground at Salisbury last time. He was a bit keen and really disappointed, but he was only 7-2 that day. Back at a mile and a quarter, Sandown, David Menwizier, lots going for him, 25-1. Just thought he was the wrong price. Top in Racing Post ratings for starters, so it tells you that he's on his best form. He's got a chance. I just thought he was going to go well, and he shouldn't be 25-1 or whatever price he is, 20-1.
Yeah, he's last few races he's gone off 3s, 5s, 5-2, and 7-2, and suddenly he's been lumped out to outsider of the field. A couple more to throw in as well. I thought Currency Exchange has got those form figures that start to give you a headache, but you can excuse every single one of his runs. It was a red-hot race at York last time out. He was the only one to make ground over this trip behind Annandale at Nottingham. And a 12 box with Ossian Murphy. Again, I could see him running on. I'm hoping he, at the very least, runs on into a place, but he could be one of those get down on your knees and hope he gets up in the shadows of the post kind of bets. And the other one is Glen Eaglet, I have to mention as well. This horse, I thought, shaped really nicely in novice and maiden events and then kept going remarkably well behind a well-handicapped one at Nottingham last time out. This is an absolute corker, David. How many places? 7, 8, 9? Give me some more. Give me some extra place value.
Just the 4, but if the previous 7 have gone well, then possibly we'll squeeze one more. Glen Eaglet, you stole my line there and there. I thought he shaped well first time in a handicap last time. Wink of an Eye has been well backed as favourite already, and I can see why. Just a point of Sussex geography for Mr. Segal. David Menwizier trains out of Pulborough, not Arundel.
Oh.
Big
difference. I knew it. I knew you'd pick me up on that.
The only place you know in Sussex, is it, Tom?
The Sussex Mafia, yeah, that's exactly.
Got to get these facts right, or David will be on you very quickly indeed. So
I've got the whole of Corals on me. I got James Knight on me. I've got David. I'll just wait for Simon Clare to phone up next.
This is what happens, Tom. You need to you come in the studio. We'll look after you, mate. I promise.
Okay, I'll get a cup of tea and you'll put your arm around me when they all have
absolutely.
You'll be making your own tea.
You can have a cup of tea and a nice little cry. It'll be fine. We'll get it all out of the system. Okay, what horse is going to win that? Where are we? Should we finish the show? What wins the last?
Yeah, well, if I've tipped up a load of winners already, it'll be Wink of an Eye, and if I haven't, it'll be Pure Bubbles, which means you can confidently back Wink of an Eye.
All right. I guess it depends how many bubbles you've had before then.
I will have had several.
Tom.
Rewired for me. I'll have a few quid on that for sure.
Okay, Rewired. And David?
At the prices there, Glen Eaglet.
Okay, and I also like Glen Eaglet, but Currency Exchange. I think I might be on a train home by this 5:15, so hopefully he will be paying for that ticket. That's it. That's the show done. In the Know 2021 Coral-Eclipse coming up. Sandown, a fantastic 8-race card. But before we go, let's get the naps from our gents and see what we can rustle up at a nice price to send us home with a few shillings. Paul, what is the nap?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Pythagoras. I'm hoping the mile will be the answer in the 225.
Pythagoras it is. Tom, your nap on Saturday?
Well, deep down, I think Pythagoras is the bet on the card. I will, because Keels has already gone for that, I'll go for the one in the last. I think Rewired will run really well.
Oh, a very nice price there, indeed. I will go for Aurea against Statement in the Coral Distaff for the Inform Bowling team. David, what's the nap?
Keep busy in the Coral Charge.
There we go. 4 different races, 4 nice prices. If they all win, you'll never see us again. But if they don't, you'll see us for the King George in a couple of weeks. So I hope you enjoy the card. It's going to be a cracking Saturday. And despite the small field, we will have a fantastic Eclipse and another name to add to the roster. Remember, whatever happens, please gamble responsibly throughout the afternoon. And if you are at Sandown, avoid Paul Kealy around that 5:15 race, that's for sure. I've been Ross Brierley. You've been wonderful. We'll see you very shortly indeed.